All right, let's get into this Star Trek Discovery. Now I know you guys we cover a lot of Marvel and DC, but I am a huge Star Trek fan as well as just Dominic is a huge Star Trek fan, and I had for a while. Let me just read what it says before we get into some stuff or whatever. So, Star Trek Discovery, who is Discovery displayed the rise of Captain Burnham, who is played by Sonique Martin Green, who is right there, that queen that you see right there. Just amazing. She's Star Trek's first Black female-led, Star Trek Discovery is the first Star Trek's first Black female-led series, and it will see its fifth and final season premiere in April of 2024. Fans were made aware of the series conclusion the same time the cast and crew were informed. Just last month, series co-showrunner Michelle Paradise told Giant Freaking Robot, that's the name of the outlet, that they didn't actually know the series was coming to an end until they wrapped production for season 5, which is BS. But that's another conversation. Only hours before the news was released to the general public. In fact, Will Wheaton on the Ready Room knew before the cast and crew. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Though Star Trek Discovery's cancellation caught everybody off guard, Paramount Plus and CBS Studios allowed the cast and crew to go back into production and tie up some loose ends so the series will have a satisfying conclusion. Though all 4 seasons boast an average 85% critical score, the audience score is at a dismal 37%. We'll talk about that in a second as well. Since audience scores are more strongly correlated to overall viewership, Discovery simply wasn't pulling the numbers to make it a financially viable intellectual property. Each costs up to $10 million per episode. The spin-off series Strange New Worlds is now the flagship show with high audience scores. A new series entitled Starfleet Academy is also currently in the pre-production phases after having been greenlit by Paramount Plus this past March. What are your thoughts, Dominic?
Well, we've been talking about this since this series started. Star Trek has a large white male heterosexual audience. So let's just start there. They decided to reboot the franchise with this queen right here in her series. And this series has really been really good. Season 1 is okay, and season 2 got better, and they really took it to whole new heights in season 3, I believe, right? Season 3 and season 4 are so awesome. They are really, 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 really good. However, as you see, the cast and crew features a Black female captain. It features a gay couple. Okay, you have those two right there. It features someone who is non-binary up at the top, right there. They also have the head of engineering, I believe. Yes, the head of engineering is a lesbian as well. Yep. She's not in this picture.
Not in this picture, yeah.
They call this the woke franchise, and it has been getting bashed since it premiered.
Yep.
For just, this is a futuristic show, but yet the main audience, the toy buyers, white males, were not interested in this franchise. So it's discouraging to hear, because it is truly one of their best franchises.
I agree.
To me, it was one of my favorites since Next Gen.
Yeah,
right up to Next Gen.
Agreed. I have been pretty emotional about this because Star Trek Discovery had really brought in a new wave and excitement between Trekkies. I have been a huge fan of Star Trek since its inception, since I was born, pretty much, because my dad, every year, my dad and I, it's one of the reasons why we bonded, and how we bonded is every year they would have on, I think it was like the WB or Channel 11 in New York, but it would be this kind of New Year's marathon where they played the entire original series all day until midnight. And my dad and I would sit there and watch that the entire, day. And so we kind of bonded over that, and from there I watched all of the series, the Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Voyager, which is one of my absolute favorites, up until even that crappy one that they had, Enterprise, which had nothing to do with the actual timeline, but that's another story. I even watched the Kelvin timeline, which was the movies and stuff like that. So it's too woke for them. Yeah, that's what they said. It is too woke for them.
That's what they called it.
They called it too woke, and we know who they are. We know those type of nerds and that population and that group is. And this kind of happens with a lot of different superhero shows, and which is why there's a sector of nerd world where they call them the blurs, the black nerds. And so that's a whole other conversation, though. But when Star Trek Discovery came back, this is after a very long time, even after the criticism for Enterprise, even after the major criticism for the movies, when J.J. Abrams went totally left field with that and completely, none of it was canon. And then Gene Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's son, Gene Roddenberry Jr., was fighting so hard, or everybody was saying, you need to come back. Somebody needs to come back to bring back, Star Trek Discovery in a better light. And what Gene Roddenberry, his father, originally wanted, to happen. And so when Star Trek Discovery came out, seeing Sonequa Martin, and I am a huge fan of Sonequa Martin Green. Martin Green. And I'm gonna tell you why, because she was originally on The Walking Dead, and I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead. She played Sasha Williams. She's a stellar actress, and she is literally she has made me cry on many times on that show. And so for her to leave The Walking Dead to come to one of my favorite franchises and reignite my inner nerd was a beautiful situation. And then watching Star Trek Discovery literally catapult production-wise, catapult storyline-wise, bringing in all types of new species, reinventing everything, propelling us into a new dimension when it came to even a further future and furthering the Star Trek story and going into transmedia and bringing out different things. That was a crazy situation. And it was exciting. It was invigorating. It was something that was like, wow, this is dope. But then politics gets involved. Then the racism that is that happens all over media, specifically even in nerddom, came about. It's really frustrating to see. And to be quite honest with you, Star Trek Discovery revitalized Star Trek. It's the reason why these other spinoffs even came about, in my personal opinion. And
they literally came out of this.
It literally came out of everything. It was if Star Trek Discovery failed, we wouldn't have Picard, we wouldn't have Strange New Worlds, we wouldn't even have the animated shows.
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, which is pretty dope too. You know what I'm saying? So, and even what's the other one? The other animated one, Prodigy, which is furthering the Voyager timeline. So it's like, it's really frustrating to see, like, because it's too woke. They even had Stacey Abrams on the last as the president of Earth.
Well, that said a lot, right?
That
there.
said a whole lot.
How many people didn't like that?
That said a whole lot, and it was a slap in a lot of people's face, and they were like, "Oh no, we're not gonna get
woke.
That's just too woke." And what's crazy to me is that, like, we're talking about Star Trek in and of itself is supposed to be in the future. It's supposed to be in a space where it's beyond race. It's beyond. We have in the Star Trek world, we have gone past racism. We have gone past poverty. We have evolved as a society, as a human culture, as a human race. And then to see the politics behind the scenes actually affect one of what was originally the flagship show. Now they're reverting it back to someone. And don't get me wrong, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a good show too, don't get me wrong, but guess who the lead is? A white male. It's always been that, and that's one of the reasons why Star Trek Voyager was an issue, because we had Captain Janeway, who is arguably one of the best captains, ever to even play in the Star Trek franchise, but nobody wants to give it to her because she's a woman. People had issues with Captain Sisko because it was he was a black Star Station captain or commander rather. So it's like if you don't have a white male lead, you don't have anything going on, and
Hold on. And you need a hot blonde, as they say.
A hot blonde. Because look, with Star Trek Voyager, we introduced Seven of Nine. Don't get me wrong, Seven of Nine is one of my favorite characters on the show because she was a Borg that you know the whole Borg series came about, and that was a huge thing. But it never took away my admiration for Captain Janeway because she is literally, if I had to pick anybody to go on the starship with to travel the strange new worlds and find new things or whatever, it would be Captain Janeway all day, without question. Yeah, now it would be Captain Burnham because she has gotten out of all types of mess.
But they have Rebecca Romaine on Strange New Worlds, another blonde. And that is, again, part of the reason why they're like, oh, this is the flagship. This is what we want to be.
But here's what's crazy to me about this. First of all, Captain Janeway, arguably one of the best captains ever, until Burnham. Because I'm going to say this right now, and I'm saying it. There is no other captain that has graced the Star Trek franchise, the character, that is better than Captain Burnham. I'm going to tell you why. Captain Burnham, or originally when she was Ensign Burnham, in the first series, was the only captain, the only person to outsmart the computer. The only one. I think it was episode 2 or episode 3 when she was put into the brig for disobeying I forget who plays or the captain's name, whatever the current captain. She was put in there for insubordination. She was put in the brig, and the ship was in danger, and she had to outsmart the computer. No captain, no Vulcan, nobody in Star Trek history has ever been able to outsmart the computer. The computer is supposed to be 20 times. It's a supercomputer. It's almost sentient, almost. The only thing that's sentient beyond the computer is the Borg. So for a black queen to sit there and outsmart the computer, and she's half Vulcan and half human, so it's not like she's a full Vulcan, so you can't blame it on.
No, she's 100% human.
Oh no,
she was adopted.
I'm sorry, she was adopted by Vulcans. She's 100%. So she's a black human woman and outsmarted the computer. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And I guess seeing her relationship with Booker,
mm-hmm.
you know, who's a beautiful African man or Caribbean man. I don't know what he is in real life, but their relationship is very powerful. It's very strong to see this type of black love. And it's something that they, you know, the mainstream, as they call it, they weren't interested in this.
Yeah. It's frustrating. But I'm going to advertise. I'm going to push. I'm going to do whatever I can in the nerd. I'm going to go off on TikTok. I'm going to do reviews, whatever I need to do for the last season, because maybe we need to go up for Sonique, for the crew, for the cast to see if they're like, hey, people are actually really liking this.
Well, if people tune in and continually watch the series now that it's concluding, maybe they'll get movies.
Yeah.
That's something that Star Trek always does. They'll conclude a series and say, hey, guys, they want you back for movies.
Yeah.
That's what I hope that happens.
I hope it does.
I would love to see a film.
I would love to see a furtherance of the story, because we went even further in the future, and even Star Trek completely was different. The Federation was completely different now.
Absolutely.
He rebuilt the Federation.
Well, we see Starfleet, and something tells me we're going to see a lot of this cast coming forth in Starfleet Academy, because that was super interesting to see, and we've never seen that. So I'm actually happy that they're doing that.
Well, I just want to say this before we go. I want to thank Sonequa Martin Green, and thank you for your stellar professionalism. All of you, the entire crew, but I want to specifically thank her because I am proud of you for being a professional, for being great at your craft, for revitalizing the Star Trek franchise, for being what we have always said: Black women always help out people. Is literally the revitalization of America. Okay, like literally. Okay, Black women are the reason why President Biden is President Biden. Okay, Black women are the reason why there's so many different things going on in the world, and a Black woman is the reason why Star Trek has gotten to where it is today.
Yeah.
Okay, so we even could talk about Uhura and Ensign Uhura and her legacy and what that meant to Black girls. So thank you for being a representation of excellence. Thank you for being a representation and for Black nerds, and thank you for just being a stellar representation of what Black women should be. Okay, and are. So shout out to you, Sonequa Martin Green. We love you. We are supporting you, and we wish you nothing but greatness. And rock this last season out with the rest of the cast and crew.
Absolutely.
Whew. All right. Sorry, I had to get it off.